Hello, hello, hello. We have another great show for you today. This is Prince Ojong.
And this is Larry Ian.
Okay. So for the show of today, we're going to concentrate on American politics. On November 3rd, America goes to the polls.
Fifth.
Okay. Fifth this time.
Yes,
okay. Of November 5th.
Yes.
America goes to the polls. Thanks for the correction. So how is this going to affect Africa? As Pan-Africanists and people who love Africa, we think you like to know how this election is going to affect the motherland. You have Kamala Harris, who is of African descent. Then you have Donald Trump, who is of British, I think German descent.
German descent,
yes. So who is good for Africa? That's a question so many of you have been asking us. Which candidate will be good for Africa? And that's going to be the debate. But before we get there, we have to do some house chores. They say charity begins at home. Larry, the big news that is breaking out of Cameroon is the torture of the artist popularly known as Longe Longe. I've read so many stories about it today. So many people are talking about it. What's your take?
I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry. Okay. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Good evening, fellow Africans. Politicians are fond of saying, this is the most consequential election in our lifetime. But I think this one is particularly consequential because for the first time, America is having the opportunity of rising to the level of the 21st century by also electing a woman. The first woman was elected in the 1960s in Sri Lanka, Mrs. Bandaranaike, and countries like Israel, Pakistan, Liberia, Tanzania have had female presidents. So this election, I want to go to the most important thing. Character. The best institutions in the world are a reflection of the character and the caliber of those who run them. By the way, let me turn to Prince and answer, let me segue and answer his question about Longe Longe. I think we're going to make a show about Longe Longe because I like his, and I don't like the fact that he was beaten, but guess what? That's what we Ambazonians have been suffering.
Thank you.
Maybe it's good that he should suffer now that it is coming to the collective consciousness of Cameroonians, what we Ambazonians have been suffering.
True.
Have you seen the waterboarding that they are boarding people? Have you seen it? It's just despicable. But guess what? We say in Africa, what happens in the chicken's house will happen in the goat's house. When somebody is crying a death and coming, you think that it's only him. It doesn't toll only for me. It tolls for all of us. So we're going to address Longe Longe issue and the idea of torture and the idea that people like Sese Kuayotabe who were in jail, some people like Martinez Zugo, may his soul rest in peace, who is now in a piece of slab inside without a judgment. Judge after judge is being changed because they cannot produce justice in Cameroon. You will see what has been happening to people like Wazizi and the rest. But let's go to the more critical issue.
Okay.
The election.
Yeah, but before we even get to election, do you know that there was a video too which made the rounds of social media showing an Ambazonian guy being tortured in the open? So I think your francophone audience, since we're planning on doing a show for francophones, pour ceux qui ne comprennent pas anglais, on va parler en français. Le show sera complètement en français.
Mais bien sûr, il faut que les francophones vivent un peu ce que les anglophones ont vécu pendant 8 ans à cause de la dictature de Biya qui décide que vous n'avez pas le droit de dire que je ne veux plus devenir, je ne veux plus être Camerounais parce qu'on m'a très maltraité. C'est comme dans un mariage. Un époux dit que tu m'as déjà trop battu, moi je ne veux plus le mariage.
Non.
Et tu vas m'épouser. Comment c'est? Le mariage, c'est par force?
Oui, c'est par force.
Même il n'y a pas un mariage dans ces circonstances. Anyway, let me to my Nigerian and Ghanaian and Kenyan and Zambian and Zimbabwean brothers and sisters who are Pan-Africanists and who are being impacted by this very consequential election. I want to go back to the fundamental issue.
So when you look at this election now, some people are thinking that because Kamala Harris is a lady with African roots, she may be a good candidate for Africa. What do you think?
Well, she can be a good candidate for Africa. But Prince, perhaps I should remind Africans the consequences of having somebody in the White House who doesn't care about the plight of Africa.
Does Kamala Harris care about the plight of Africans?
Of course, she does. There's no doubt about that. But
how can you prove that?
I can prove that by the empathy that she's shown towards Palestinians, the empathy that she has shown towards Ghana. She has gone to the island of Goree. She has gone to Ghana, where the slave ships were being sent. People were being sent as commodities, sold in the 400-year slavery to America. She stood there. She shed tears. Trump never went there. So Trump called African countries shithole countries. Trump said he prefers Norwegians and other Europeans to come here, whereas Emma Lazarus says, send us your huddled masses, send us your hungry, send us your tempest tossed. We light the lamp on the edge of the
Statue of Liberty.
That is the fundamental principle of America, is that this is a nation of immigrants. How can we now have a president whose fundamental problem is the hatred for immigrants? Prince.
But you look at Kamala Harris's platform, I don't see any issues that are pro-Africa in her platform.
Yes.
And you remember, Kamala Harris is being elected by Americans, not Africans.
You're right.
And I think from this show, by the time we end, we're going to come up with some ideas why it is good for Africans to have their own organization, to be pro-Africa.
Yes.
So that way, Kamala Harris knows that Africans are not going to give her their votes for free.
Okay.
She has to earn them.
Okay.
Just the way the black men are doing now in America, they are telling Kamala Harris, you cannot just get our vote for nothing. You have to earn it.
Prince, point well taken. Before you go into asking Kamala Harris what is her agenda for Africans, I will do a rhetorical question. What is the agenda of Africans for themselves? Let me give you an example. When Barack Obama in 2008 was being elected, there was enthusiasm everywhere. Barack Obama wanted to show the love he had for his Kenyan African roots. We Africans are so divided that even to organize a ball where all Africans will receive Obama, we could not agree. The Nigerians, yes. This is the fundamental problem. Remove the speck in your eye before looking at, remove the log in your eye before looking at the speck in your neighbor's eye. We as African people in the diaspora, can we come up with an agenda that we have to table to the American presidency to tell Americans that, Mr. President, Mrs. President, if you become the president of the United States, these are the fundamental interests of Africans? No, we've not done that. But let's go back. The first the first American president who impacted Africans very badly was Dwight Eisenhower, who in 1960, August, held a meeting in the White House and told the note taker, Robert Johnson, that Patrice Lumumba should be eliminated.
Physically.
Physical elimination. He turned around and told John Foster Dulles, I want you to eliminate Patrice Lumumba. For what? Because Patrice Lumumba was a nationalist and said, when he came here, the Guggenheim family, which was exploiting the uranium, said, well, are you going to be giving us the same uranium the way Belgium has been giving us? He said, no, I'm an independent country now. If you want my uranium, you want our uranium, come and negotiate with us. That was a death sentence. They decided to physically eliminate Patrice Lumumba. They went ahead and outsourced the job to the Belgian police chief who cut Patrice Lumumba into 47 pieces.
Okay.
This is the kind of thing that is important for Africans to be able to impact the leadership in the United States, because this United States are still the dominant superpower in the world, the last time I checked. So it is the job of we Africans now in the United States to come up with a platform requesting that this is what we want America to do to us in terms of foreign policy, in terms of foreign aid, in terms of global warming, in terms of we should put an agenda and a white paper regarding our demands to the American presidency, so that when the American the presidential election is coming, they know that there's a constituency for Africa, which we do not have now. We are all divided, and divided we fall.
Yes, from what he's saying now, from this show, you guys will see the benefit of having an organization. For example, the African Americans have the NAACP. They have the National Urban League. That's what we're really talking about. Africans need to have their own organization. If you look at what the Jews are doing in America, they have political action committees like EPEC. So EPEC is probably the biggest one, but you have many other Jewish organizations. The Jews consist of probably just 2% of America, but they dictate what happens in the White House, what happens in the Supreme Court, what happens in Congress.
Yeah, they have the APAC, they have the Benai Bridge. They organize themselves in a way that they can impact the policies of the United States. And this is maybe the precursor. We have to begin somewhere where we, first of all, look at the character of the president. But I wanted to go back, Prince. When you look at these two candidates, Akeem Jeffries had a wonderful analogy, which I thought was very interesting. When you have dated somebody and now that person is your ex, what do you really benefit from going to date that person again? You already know the person's antics. You know the person's behavior. That is the way I feel with Trump. It's same old, same old.
No, with Trump, Trump example just teaches you many lessons about America. Even Obama, who is president, was surprised when Donald Trump won the election. So his surprise really made me feel like, wow, Obama is really naive. He won the election twice and became president, but he does not understand the American people he's leading. Americans, by their very nature, you have a lot of Americans who are hypocritical, who are racist, but when they're in public, they don't want people to know that they are racist. Some of them support Trump, but they don't want to show openly that they support Trump. Trump is more like a figurehead. Trump is like their Frankenstein. Okay? You remember Frankenstein?
Of course.
So those who don't know literature,
yes.
If you can share light on.
Yeah. It basically, a Frankenstein is a machine or an animal that you create, and then it comes to devour you. It's basically the kind of thing that you create and you cannot control anymore. Come to talk of it, I believe that I want to be very objective. The core values that America embodies: democracy, free market, the support for immigrants, the acceptance of immigrants as an asset to the nation. All these core values are being challenged. There is a lot of socio-scientific evidence, for example, that immigrants are a net benefit to the economy of the United States. But Trump, out of his xenophobia, doesn't recognize the advantages that America has been earning, that the advantages that accrue to the United States by their support of a free, open immigration policy. Russia doesn't have that policy. China doesn't have the kind of policy. Japan is having an aging population because they do not have immigrants. Even the Fed has said that dual mandate of normal inflation and high employment is being supported by the increasing immigration of America. People vote with their feet. The idea of traveling to another country, migration is a human right. So when the white populations were coming here from Ireland, when there was a potato blight in Ireland and they came here in the 19th century, at Ellis Island, you just had to say, oh, his name is Prince Ojong, and they say, okay, two people swear under an affidavit, I know Prince Ojong, he's from Cable, he's my brother, you become an American citizen, and they say, welcome to America. So what happened? that suddenly immigrants have become the bête noire, people to be chased away. The whole idea of corralling, using the army to do mass deportation. Has Trump seen the deleterious effect of that on the U.S. economy? Does he care?
Well, he's going to see the truth, because basically America has a lot of folks who are really supporting Trump. Because when you see Trump rising in the polls, it's not because people don't realize that he's crazy, but a lot of people support his worldview.
Yes, I also know that most of the areas that support Trump, the zip codes where Trump has the highest support, these people don't have passports. They are very obscurantists. They have never traveled. They do not know the world. So we really have to educate and teach them. Instead of disparaging them, we have to tell them to be open-minded and try to educate them. And that's why Africans who are in the swing states have a duty to go out and campaign so that Kamala Harris will be elected. The old order changes, giving place to new, lest one good old culture will corrupt the world. We cannot have the white supremacist culture come back to dominate America at the 21st century. A time has come for a woman to take over. William Golding, the Nobel Prize winning British author who won the Nobel Prize in 1953. Since you are a literature student, he wrote a lot of the flies. He says everything that you give a woman, it makes it better. You give her a sperm, she gives you a baby. You give her groceries, she gives you a meal. You give her a home, she gives you you give her a house, she gives you a home. You give her a smile, she gives you an embrace. But if you give her crap, she will give you deep crap. Exactly. So I believe that women should not condescend to compare themselves with men. Women perform by far more than men. I can tell you because I'm a father of 5 girls, and I believe that with the election of Kamala Harris, America is going to excel.
Okay, now it looks like Kamala Harris is having a lot of trouble with black men.
Yes.
And Obama has even tried to give us some help, but he ran into some trouble when he started pointing fingers at black men. They did not like it very well. So, and it looks like the attraction of Trump to black men is really economic. How do you explain that?
Well, I think it is a chimera. It is really a mirage. Black men did not benefit in the last 4 years that Trump was in power.
They are saying they did.
Well,
Trump sent checks to them. Obama even admitted that. It's just that when Trump sent the checks, Trump put his photo on the checks. But during Obama's time, when he sent money, he did not put his name on it. So you see the way Trump fixes things. So Trump made it look as if the money was coming from him, but it was money coming from the government.
We should not.
Biden did the same thing. He got money and sent to people. They received it, but Trump decided to personalize it, put his name on it, so that people saw it like Trump was the one giving them free money. And that's why black men also like Trump.
Well, I care about the way somebody speaks to me. Trump does not speak to people.
So Americans, generally, if you look at most American elections, they vote their pocketbook.
Yes, but we need to.
Fundamentally, if you look at all American elections, the pocketbook is always the economy. It's the economy, stupid.
Yes, the economy is going to flourish under Harris because Harris is not going to be engaging in this unnecessary, expensive project of deporting immigrants. By the way, Prince.
But people are thinking that Trump has a better economic policy. It's true that Trump filed bankruptcy so many times. He's a lousy businessman. But for some reason, people think Trump can handle the economy better than Kamala Harris.
It's a mirage. It's a chimera. It's a straw man. That is why we have to do this program to educate African Americans and Africans about the fundamentals. Even those who wrote the book for Trump, The Art of the Deal, say it very clearly that he doesn't know anything about economy. And his bankruptcies are there to show. His arguments are basically straw arguments. And people who are not very enlightened, let me tell you something. A lot of Africans are very macho. Some of us, when we came here to the United States, we made more money than our wives, but our wives became nurses and they made more money than us. We have to have the humility to realize that America empowers. America equalizes. And this is the time for a woman to come to power in the United States to show the example that women can perform. And coming to the issue of abortion that Trump has been promoting, I have 5 daughters. What you do?
Trump has not been promoting the issue of abortion. Trump has been against abortion.
You're right. He has been using it
fact,
as a boogeyman. He has been using the issue of
actually,
abortion.
he decided to overturn Roe versus Wade.
Yes.
And that's an issue that Kamala Harris is riding high.
Of course, Roe versus Wade, that was passed 50 years ago by Justice Blackmun, was fundamentally the empowerment of the women, making people know that a woman's body is her possession, and men should not be as intrusive as we've been in determining where we're doing ultrasounds, talking about abortion. We have educated women. I give you my example. My 5 girls have a proper education. They know what to do with their body. I, as a father, I cannot go and intrude when they are now adults. They should have the latitude and the freedom to make those decisions. And I believe that women should go out on this election and elect Kamala Harris, because she is empowering them and giving them equality and making it clear to men that they cannot be intruding in the bodies of women. Now, Prince, you made all kinds of straw arguments that Trump has been doing. Remember, Trump is in a very desperate situation. He has to get to this presidency, otherwise he goes to jail. So he is just throwing even the kitchen sink at the voters. Oh, I will accept IVF, I will accept tariffs, I will do. He's making all kinds of unnecessary concessions which are only electioneering. And these things are not going to be able to be adopted because, by the way, they have to have the approval of Congress. Congress holds the power of the purse. So for me, it's a fundamental issue of character and a fundamental issue of change. We have lived the old order of Trump at 78. In fact, let me quote Nikki Haley. Nikki Haley is the one who reminded Americans that the political party that will retire their 70-year-old will win this election. So I'm very confident that Kamala Harris is going to win this election.
So how do the polls shape up when you look at the polls last? It looks like they are very tight.
Well, I don't believe in polls.
Okay.
During the 2016 election, the polls said that Hillary Clinton had won the election. I have never been polled. I've been in the United States for 30 years. I'm very vocal. I drive for Uber. I move around, speak freely. Nobody has ever polled me. So I do not believe in polls. I believe that Americans have come of age to the realization that we do not need a grumpy old man putting a grumpy old man back in the White House. We should give women a chance. And this is a brilliant woman, an attorney, a woman who is very, first of all, she is very open-minded. Remember, she's married to a Jew. She's a black woman whose mother is an Indian. So this is the tapestry. This is the rainbow coalition of America that is really epitomized.
She's married to a Jew. Or maybe because she's not married to a black man. Do you think maybe that's why black guys don't warm up to her?
No, all my daughters are not all married to black people. Okay. We marry for love.
Obama married a black woman, and I hear Obama really calculated and said, I'm going to run for president someday. If I marry a white woman and all these my girls, I will not get a black vote.
Please, you are really playing the devil's advocate in this show.
So
I don't believe that those calculations come in. I believe that.
So don't you think a lot of black Americans were supporting Obama because of Michelle?
No, I don't have that kind of information. Okay. I see the support and the love that Kamala Harris's husband's children are showing towards her. That is a real indication of the fact that it is your character that makes you. It is the way you treat people. I like positive people. I don't like people who talk to people rudely the way Trump does. I will never really vote for a Trump, and I can't apologize. I would vote for Kamala any day, anytime, because I like people who come with sunshine. I don't like a grumpy leader, and that is why I'm advising our Africans. The leader of the free world, who will allow you to continue sending $100 billion in remittances back to Africa, is the one that you should elect.
Okay, so this is a live show. As we are speaking, people are responding. So we have one viewer. What's the name?
It's Frank Will.
Frank Will.
Larry.
So, Larry, where's your credibility?
Well,
wow, that's good.
Well, where is my credibility? My credibility is that I am a truth teller. My life is an open book. I believe in what I say and what I do. I believe that Trump will be a disaster to democracy. Trump will be a disaster to the United States of America. And Trump will take America to the age of potentates like Putin or Xi Jinping. I am a proud American and I'm here because of the rule of law and I love democracy. So I have no shame. My credibility is that I stand for the truth and I believe that Kamala Harris is the best candidate for the United States of America.
Looking at this name, Frank Will, I suspect Frank Will is one of the supporters of Sako.
Well,
so that's what I'm just saying. So Frank Will, we're willing to engage you.
Well,
come on.
Well, yeah. We do not want self-serving leaders, self-dealing leaders, self-aggrandizing leaders, and guarding themselves, threatening people. Oh, Prince Ojong, if you are not, I'm going to fire you. I am going to, if you don't treat me well, I'm going to put you in jail. Those are the kinds of threats that we ran away from Paul Biya, from Yoweri Museveni, from Paul Kagame. And when we come to this United States of America, we cannot have a third world leader like Donald Trump. And I know he's going to lose because America. Look, Prince, one of my daughters, my fourth child, she's in Medicare, she's on a political. On January 6th, she sent me a picture of the storming of Congress. That was the saddest day in the history of this country. And Trump is unapologetic about his role in exciting that crowd. By the way, I am an Uber driver and I carried Trump supporters from Michigan to that Congress where they stormed the Congress. Although my riders were not aware that they were going to turn violent. Prince, I believe that we should not even worry about ad hominem attacks.
We're not worried. We're just engaging our audience.
Yeah.
Because this is a live show.
Yeah.
When people respond.
Let's talk about real issues. Let's talk about Kamala Harris. Let's talk about Donald Trump and the fact that Donald Trump cannot be the candidate for the 21st century. He has served his term. I fundamentally believe that leadership is a relay race. You run your own lap and you hand over the baton to a younger generation. Pump new blood to the American White House, and America will continue to be the preeminent nation. That is where I live. That is where you live, Prince. It's only in America that you can have this kind of four-acre estate. A hustler, somebody who a self-made man. It's only in America here. Our mothers from Africa, I've gone to Zimbabwean churches, Namibian churches, I've gone to Kenyan churches. Our parents are here, the children are here. This is our land, and we should participate in influencing the election of this country. And I do not believe that Trump is good for America.
So yes, guys, so you're hearing from us. So we want you to go and vote.
We want
to go and vote.
Africans in the swing states to go out. If you are an Uber driver, if you are a Lyft driver, if you have a car, offer to take older people who need a ride to the polls. Let them express their right to vote. Voting is a right. Do you know how people were beaten in Selma, Alabama in the 1960s before President Johnson signed the Voting Rights Act? People died for the right to vote. And if Trump was in the White House as Johnson in 1965, he wouldn't have signed that. So I am voting for Kamala Harris, and I believe that Kamala Harris is going to win this election, God willing.
No, that sounds very, very good. So voting is very, very important. Americans are taking voting for granted. And even Africans who are in America, they are taking voting for granted. In a lot of African countries, you don't even have the right to vote. If you even vote, it's just a charade. The big guy has already arranged. He knows who's going to win the election. He will tell you, oh, whether I win or lose, don't say I lost. If not, I'm going to come and kill you. Remember what happened in 1992?
Yes.
In La République du Cameroon?
Yes.
You were in the party,
yes.
SDF.
I was
Tell them what happened.
Well, I was a spokesman of the party. Our leader John Frundi won the elections hands down, and the election was seized because we are in Cameroon, English-speaking Cameroonians are second-class citizens, and the French do not want. By the way, do you know that General de Gaulle organized the first coup d'etat in Togo to remove Sylvanus Olympio because Sylvanus Olympio went to the London School of Economics and speaks English? So we are an endangered species in our country. But let's go back to the more important issue of this American election. I have voted in this country. I have come to love this country. When Barack Obama was running, one of my friends, a medical doctor who had been here for much longer than me, said, Larry, you just came. Obama could have waited until he finishes his Congress term. He said, no, this is the time.
Yes, if not now, when?
Yes. The urgency of now, the urgency of hope. And I believe that Kamala Harris is going to win this election because Joe Biden, in his kindness, in his magnanimity, realized that he could not perform and would put a woman with fresh blood and a strong woman. The women are now being more and more empowered in America because in the economy, even African American women, they graduate more from college than the men. So basically, when the women step out and step to the plate, they are going to carry this election for women. And we're going to be proud of Kamala.
Yeah, the next person says, don't listen to Trump, fuck their fake and spread hate vote for Harris. Okay, that's good.
Well,
getting some comments because this is a live show.
Well,
as we are talking, viewers are making their comments. So we encourage you to comment.
Yeah, Prince.
So that's Guy Cox.
Yeah.
Guy Cox. Okay,
after
thank you,
living in the United States for 30 years, after living in Massachusetts, living in Virginia, living in Maryland, living in DC, I know the American electorate do not count on polls. People, the sacred ballot, the ballot is sacred because people go in and vote their conscience. See Adam Kinzinger, see Miss Liz Cheney, bold American politicians who realize that Trump is taking our country to a fascist nation and we cannot go there. And they came out boldly. Trump has transformed the Republican Party into the MAGA Party. Ronald Reagan's last speech that he made before leaving the White House was extolling the power of America because of immigrants.
Yeah, what about another viewer? Guy Cox is saying Texas is turning blue tomorrow.
Yeah.
Wow. Texas.
But
you know what happened to Texas? Texas
see,
has always been a red state.
The problem of those who do not want to participate in politics is that they'll be ruled by people who are less knowledgeable, politics affects what you eat. Politics affects the avocados that are coming from Mexico, which are in our stores, is because of the relationship we have with Mexico.
Yeah, Texas is a very big state in the union. If you look, I don't even remember the number of electoral votes, but I know Texas has more than 20 electoral votes.
I know that Pennsylvania has 20. Texas is not a swing state, but the young man.
No, but if it's turning blue, that's really good.
Yeah, the
blue
young
means it's turning to the Democrats.
You're right. The young senator who's running, I can't even remember his name. He was wonderful in the debate, and he really flawed this arrogant senator. What's his name again? Ted Cruz. Ted Cruz could not perform.
Yeah, Ted Cruz is like a little joke.
Yeah.
They make fun of his wife, and he's just a guy who wants to. He reminds me of the poor boy of the world.
So
he doesn't want to go anywhere.
Yeah.
So he's like a prostitute.
Yeah. On abortion, Harris is right. The rights of women to have control over their body, over their health care, is a fundamental right that cannot be abridged. And Roe versus Wade is the law of the land. We have to go back to Roe versus Wade and allow women to take control of their bodies. Now, the hypocrisy of people who are a one-issue voter about abortion, they care about the child. Okay, the child has a heartbeat after 5.3 weeks. Some people say 3 weeks. But what of the children who have been born? Prince, right now, there's a civil war that has killed more than 6 million people in the Sudan. The American people don't even talk about it. If we had a constituency of Africans here who can influence U.S. foreign policy, they'll be sending the United Nations there to go and stop that genocide. Look
True.
at the genocide in the Congo. We are not pressuring. So we can talk better to Harris than a racist Trump. Remember, Trump has just the ugly devil of racism has reared its ugly head with Trump. So we need to move forward and not go back to the Trump era.
So it looks like Trump supporters, they believe in make America great again.
And they cannot even tell you when America was great. America was never great when black people could not vote. Remember, the 15th Amendment gave black people the right to vote after the Civil War. But the states brought all kinds of shenanigans, all kinds of literacy tests to prevent the black people from voting. So the right to vote is such a precious right that any African who is here, who has acquired that right, should really exercise it and vote his conscience and vote wisely. And voting wisely is voting for change and voting for the future.
No, we really like that, at least. So the voting is important. So we just have to learn a lot of lessons that if we vote for Harris, then we have to prepare to create our own organization.
Yes, we
just like NAACP,
yeah,
or APAC,
yeah,
so that we can organize. And we have Africa has a lot of sons and daughters in the United States. So many
educated ones in very strategic places. We have to harness our dollars. We have to harness. You see, we are like a scatter shot. We have to focus in terms of our priorities, in terms of what we need for the continent. And when we table that to any US president, he will listen to us. And I think Harris will listen to us better than Trump, who believes that we are a shithole country.
Okay, let's just hope Harris listens, because it looks like most of
the time.
Let's
go for Harris. Africa for Harris. That is our own daughter. God bless you. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. Bye-bye. Bye-bye. Harris today.